Hey everyone, I'm your astrologer Brittany of Ethereal Astrology, taking you to new heights with inspired perspectives that transcend the details. Today, you're watching your astrology horoscope for the new moon solar eclipse in Aries, which occurs on Monday, April 8th, 2024 at 2:20 p.m. Eastern Time or 11:20 a.m. Pacific Time. Now, what I think is going on here at this new moon solar eclipse in Aries is that we're trying to move forward in life doing new things in a very different way than we've done them before, but we are still struggling to do so and feel stuck, which is making us feel very hurt, upset, angry, emotional. Here that's going on, which is hard, that we're going to have to really learn to deal with and to work around here at this time. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. If you want to hear more about that, please do stay tuned because we're going to hop into it right now. In order to get started, what I like to do first is, of course, place on the chart what it is that I'm referring to so that you can see it and follow along with me. So let me do that now. This video is for that new moon solar eclipse in Aries on Monday, April 8th. Because of that, I have adjusted the chart accordingly for that lunar event. I know that the chart is set for that because I've got both the sun and the moon here at the exact same degree, 19 degrees of the exact same sign, Aries, even though Chiron is, of course, there as well. And when the moon conjunct the sun here, in this way, that is what is considered a new moon. I know that it is an eclipse here because both the sun and the moon are very close to the nodal axis, which is the point where eclipses occur here. And this one's going to be pretty total because it is very close within just a few degrees here of this north node. Okay, so that's what that is. What are new moon solar eclipses really all about? Well, new moons are about new beginnings, new energy, and fresh starts here, and solar eclipses superpower that and make that an extra big or extra significant new beginning here. And also, not only does it superpower and makes it extra big or extra significant here, but it also too can relate back to things in the past that maybe we've been putting off or delaying here to really get those moving as well in some kind of new or different direction in a very significant way. Hey, what is it now that we're trying to get new, different, significant way that maybe we've been avoiding doing or have been trouble doing in the past? Aries, because that's where this eclipse is. Aries, I need to note, is the first sign of the zodiac. That's why there's a 1 by it here in this chart. And the first sign of the zodiac is also in and of itself about new beginnings, right? The first, new beginnings, here that's going on. So one other thing that I want to say is just add extra emphasis here to new things happening here, especially with this being also the first new moon of the astrological year. So extra significators here of like really big new beginnings at this time here that we're trying to do that maybe hasn't quite occurred yet in the way that we might like. What else here do I want to say? In addition to that, Aries is also a lot about our identity and who we are as a whole here, especially being the first sign here and how we express that. So in addition to these big new beginnings, new chapters here that's going on, this does include more specifically a new beginning in our identity, who we are, how we present ourselves to the world in some sort of way here as well. Not only that, but Aries is also a Mars-ruled sign. Mars in particular is the planet of action and the planet of doing things. So in addition to just us trying to get some new beginning, very significant in our lives that maybe we've struggled to do prior to this point, and a new identity and way of presenting ourselves to the world with it, but we're also getting new ways of behaving, acting, doing things here as well, which is usually all tied up together, right? How can you have a new identity if you're not doing things in a new way? And how can you have a new beginning if you don't have the new identity and doing things? So they're all kind of related here. Not only that, but other things that I want to note about the sign of Aries is that Aries as well is a fire sign. It's one of passion and excitement for life. It's also one of courage and bravery here as well. So not only are we trying to get a new beginning in life, very significant, that maybe hasn't happened quite yet on the road here with a new identity, and a new way of doing things here, but we're also trying to get more passion and more excitement, more zest for life here in order to make this happen, and more bravery and courage in order to do it as well. Not only that, but I also want to note too that Aries is also a sign of motivation, drive and motivation, which I kind of just mentioned too, but I want to emphasize as well. It has to do with our mojo, you know, helping us get up in the morning and have a little, you know, kick in our step here too. So I think in addition to all the things I've mentioned, getting some big new beginning on the road that we've struggled to do prior here, with a new identity and a new way of doing things, with more passion and excitement and courage and bravery, but we're also trying to get more of our motivation back for life and drive and pep in our step, especially if that's been lacking for a while, which I think for many of us it has been. And not only do I want to say that, but I also want to note as well that this eclipse is near the north node here as opposed to the south node. The one we had 2 weeks ago was near the south node. And I do tend to like the north node a bit better than the south node, not because this eclipse is an easy one. There are some hard aspects going on here. In particular at this new moon, but just because the north node to me is more of a positive force, a progressive force here that's really meant to help us, I think, reach our purpose, reach our destiny, or overcome obstacles here in a better way. Because the north node does have a lot to do with our purpose, our destiny in life, and what we're meant to learn here at this time instead of things we need to let go of. So that to me is meant to be, I think a silver lining here when it comes to what we're going to talk about. So that's what I'm going to say there. Just to repeat that before I move on to another section of this video, what I think is going on, very big picture at this new moon solar eclipse in Aries, is that we're trying to step into a very significant new chapter or new beginning in our lives that we've been struggling, I think, to really do prior to this point here, and get a new identity, new behaviors here as well in this different experience of life, with more passion, more drive, more mojo, more motivation, more pep in our step, which I think has also been lacking, and more courage and bravery here in order to overcome any of those obstacles here that might be in our way. Here that's going on. Okay. Now what I like to do next in the video is I do like to go backwards in time for a minute here before I go forwards to give you more details and more specifics now about this eclipse and how it's going to play out. And I do like to go backwards in time here before I go forwards, because I think that the alignments that have occurred in the past can greatly influence each lunation here and make each interpretation significantly different from the next here based on what came before it. So I like to go back to that. If you don't want to hear that because it can get kind of lengthy, that's totally fine. I've got the timestamps here down in the description box. Just skip ahead and we can dive right into the specifics here. But if you want to listen to this, then stay, because we're going to go over it now. And to go back to talk about the past alignments, I like to go back to an alignment that occurred around January to April here of 2020 that I thought was extremely significant, that I think we're still feeling to this day. And that was when Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn all came conjunct here around the middle to late degrees of the sign of Capricorn. Okay, now that was a very rare and difficult alignment. It was very rare because Saturn and Pluto only come conjunct about every 35 years here, and not always with Jupiter there here. And it was very difficult because Saturn and Pluto are typically known as malefic planets because they're further away from where we live, especially Pluto. And the ones that are further away from where we live tend to be harder for us to understand or work with here. Not only that, but Jupiter was involved in the sign of Capricorn, a sign it just doesn't like to be in and doesn't really function that well in, so that didn't help either. What was the very rare and difficult thing that was going on at this time? Well, what was going on at that time was, I think, us starting to realize or understand, maybe you can say that's a Jupiter thing here, that something wasn't right in our life, because these are hard things and hadn't been right for many decades prior here, that we needed to make big Jupiter permanent change, Pluto, in the structure of our lives, Saturn and Capricorn, which are correlated, in order to end in the stuff we did not like that was not working for us here. That, again, it's hard to make endings, especially if things you don't like, and to have the confrontations in order to do so. So that's where we started. January, April 2020, something's not right in my life, hasn't been for a while. I now need to end these things and make big changes, and it's hard and uncomfortable. Okay. And if I can be honest with you, I think it took us almost 2 years to really make some of these endings here, that we needed to let go of some of the stuff that we didn't like. It wasn't really until the next alignment that I think we maybe started to get some things together, which was 2 years later, around April now of 2022. Okay, in April of 2022, we had a new moon solar eclipse here in the sign of Taurus. Okay. New moons are about new beginnings. Solar eclipses superpower that in Taurus is a lot about fertility and abundance here, and things being a little bit more secure. So I think what happened in April of 2022 is that we felt like we had ended enough of this old stuff that we didn't like, that wasn't working for us, so that we were in a much better place that felt more fertile, more abundant, and like we were more able to build or grow from and create something different and better for ourselves after that point. And that then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention, which happened about 2 weeks after that. So very soon after that. And that was a full moon lunar eclipse now in the sign of Scorpio, the opposite sign right about here. Also, again, April 2022. Now, that was a bit more difficult here than that new moon. It was a bit more difficult, sure, because it's a full moon, and full moons to me are a tad bit more difficult than new moons here. And of course, it was an eclipse, but especially because it was on the South Node. And the South Node is a challenge here because it tends to indicate old habits and patterns that we're still stuck in, that are not working for us any longer here, that we need to let go of. And it's hard to let go of old habits and patterns that you've been doing for a while and things like that. Which again made us feel stuck and held us back. What were those old habits and patterns that we're stuck in, that were holding us back, preventing us from moving forward in this fertile new beginning that was holding us back? Well, those are Scorpio habits, because that's where the South Node was at that time. Okay, now Scorpios, again, not always negative. There are lots of positive things about it, but because the South Node was there, it just now is unhelpful, okay? And was then. Scorpio went negative here can lead to too much change, continuing to make more changes when really most of those endings had been done, that we need to stop doing. It can also lead to a lot of deep, uncomfortable emotion. Scorpio has to do with our subconscious negative triggers a lot of times. So we could have had too many of those negative emotions that maybe we were indulging that weren't helpful to move forward. Scorpio too can also be about money, but usually spending a lot of money. So maybe we are spending too much money here on things that maybe weren't conducive to the healthy growth of our situation. And Scorpio as well can also be about relationships and power, and giving too much of our power away to other people as well, that we needed to stop doing. And of course, adopt more Taurus themes: slow, stable, secure, calm, self-reliant, all of that. So I think that's what happened here, April 2022. Ended enough old things we didn't like, in a better place, or that we feel is more fertile to create new and better experiences, but still stuck and still unable to move forward because we're still changing too many things. It's unnecessary now to change because we already did that. We have too many negative emotions we don't know what to do with. Here, we're spending too much money and we're giving our power away to the wrong people, or just people in general, instead of believing more in ourselves here, which is making it hard. And if I can be honest with you, I think it took us almost all of 2022 to really figure that out and let go of these habits that weren't useful. It wasn't, to me, until after Mars went retrograde in Gemini later that year, and really the next January when Mercury went retrograde in Capricorn, that we started to get it through our heads. Okay, and it was January of 2023, yes. Okay, and Mercury went retrograde in Capricorn, the same spot that Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter came conjunct years earlier. And what I think happened then, Mercury is a lot about our mindset, and so too is Gemini. Our mindset, the way we think about things. I think we started to adjust our mindset here towards being more slow, stable, secure, instead of changing things, depending on other people and all of that. Here that was going on. And I think not only do we change our mindset, but Mercury too also has to do with our physical environment. We adjusted some things in our physical environment with relationships, money, etc., to be done in a different and better way. Slow, stable, secure, thrifty, self-reliant. That's more conducive to our new beginning, which was great. That then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention here, which happened shortly after that. I believe it was like March of 2023 now. What happened in March of 2023 is we had Pluto leave the sign of Capricorn here, and Saturn leave the sign of Aquarius and enter the sign of Pisces. Okay, now these are slower moving planets changing signs. It's very significant when slower moving planets do that because it doesn't happen that often. And because it doesn't happen that often, it indicates significant shifts or changes in our lives towards different experiences here. And different experiences in which we release the past with Saturn and Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac, and are more free to be our authentic selves and formulate unique approaches with Pluto and Aquarius. So it was in March 2023 where we said, okay, got rid of a whole bunch of things I don't like. Now got a whole bunch of better perspectives and habits, slow, stable, secure, thrifty, self-reliant. Now I'm ready to embark again on a fertile new beginning that I've been trying to get to, a year or so earlier here, that's without the past, that's more authentic, more unique, going to allow me to be more free to do things. Here, I think that especially was the case too, even a month or so after that, April of 2023, when we had a new moon solar eclipse also in the sign of Aries shortly after that, okay? We have one now, we had one last year as well, okay? And that to me was also very significant because new moons are about new beginnings, solar eclipses superpower that, and Aries is about new beginnings and doing things in different ways. So I think in April of 2023, we started to feel more and more and more like, hey, I'm going to do a new beginning and I'm going to move forward yet again into new and better experiences that I've been trying to get to for a while. I thought that was good, but then we ran into another roadblock again shortly after, which I think was around June, if my memory serves me correctly here, June of last year, 2023. And around June, July of last year, 2023, we had another thing that happened. It was Venus. Venus went retrograde here in the sign of Leo. Now that was a bit difficult here because it's a planet going retrograde, which is not its natural movement, and it's Venus, which is a personal planet here as well. So this was difficult. What did it indicate? Us feeling a little stuck, right? It was moving backwards, not able to move forward. Us not being able to move forward, even though we thought we were just a month or two prior, into some better experience. Why were we not able to move forward here? Well, the Leo, there's something about the Leo that we weren't doing right, or else Venus wouldn't need to go retrograde there. Leo is a lot about happiness. It's about joy. It's about pleasure. It's about fun. It's about being bold and expressing yourself. And so I think we weren't able to move forward into this better experience, not because we were making too many changes, indulging too many negative emotions, which it was the year prior here, but because we were having difficulty having fun, letting loose, being happy, and expressing ourselves. And with Pluto back in the last degree of Capricorn around that same time, because I think we're stuck too much, Pluto, too much Capricorn in emergency mode, too much in emergency mode, fight or flight from the past few years of trying to end all of this stuff here, and too stuck in being serious and structured here, that we were really having a problem letting loose and letting our guard down. That was a big bottleneck here. Because that was going on, we then had another significant alignment a month later here, and that was Pluto back at the last degree of Capricorn around July of 2023, now making a square to the nodal axis, which includes the south node over here in Libra and the north node in Aries. Hey, that's also a challenge, can indicate a lot of stuckness and difficulty, but not only can that indicate challenges, it can also indicate choices and big turning points that need to be made, with the nodes there being about fate and decisions that will impact our fate and our destiny for a very long time. So this was us realizing we needed to make some big decisions here. And with Pluto involved, Pluto being about change, we needed to make more decisions to make changes so that we come out of emergency mode and we stop being too structured and too serious and too rigid and too stuck in fight or flight, and so that we can have more fun here. And we needed to make big decisions and choices to get rid of anything. Could be a relationship, could have been a job that was or something else that was keeping us stuck in this rigid, unhappy experience, so that we can move forward here. And I think we started to do that here, which was a lot and perhaps very triggering here for us, but we did it. And because we did it, that then leads me now to the next alignment I want to mention, which was the beginning of this year, around January of this year, 2024. We had a new moon here in the sign of Capricorn, right as Pluto was leaving it to enter Aquarius. And I think what that new moon was about, right? New moons are about new beginnings. And it's about doing something in a new way. And Capricorn's about the stiff, rigid, fight or flight, stuck in emergency mode. And I think what happened in January is we started to get a better balance there, where we weren't too stuck in emergency mode and fight or flight and rigid structure, but we were starting to let loose and have fun and honor more of our emotions and balance the structure with the emotions and the happiness a bit better here in the way that it is that we might like. okay, which is very good. That then leads me to the next alignment, which was February. February now of 2024, we had a new moon in Aquarius right around that time. And that was us trying to move forward again. Now into the future, right? New beginning, Aquarius, future, unique experiences, freedom. That was us trying to move again into new, unique experiences with more freedom here after getting that better balance that we had, especially with Pluto moving back into Aquarius around that time. But even though we were trying to move forward again into a new experience, a month later at that new moon in Pisces, which wasn't too long ago, in March sometime of this year, we started to run into difficulty again in this new and better experience here, because really some more old things from the past, right? Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. More old things from the past still needed to be released, still needed to be let go of internally and externally here that were in our way, which we then started to take care of 2 weeks ago at that full moon lunar eclipse on the South Node, letting go in Libra. And because we were trying to move forward yet again, but still some old things in the way that we've been taking care of, we now at this new moon solar eclipse in Aries, of which this video is for, here are trying to overcome any of those obstacles and any of those things from the past that have been keeping us stuck, and continue yet again into a new beginning, a new experience that we've been trying to get to since about 2020, with a new identity and a new way of behaving here at this time. Okay. And with more passion, right? Courage, drive, all of that. Okay, and that's it. Because that's it, and that was a lot, I'm just going to summarize that very briefly here before I move on to the next portion of this video. What I think has been going on, big picture here since 2020, is that we've been trying to get to a new, different, and better experience of life that's just keep hitting roadblock after roadblock after roadblock here that's going on. And we're trying again. This new moon solar eclipse series of us trying again to get onto a new beginning and to overcome any more roadblocks in our way, especially after recently releasing more things that have been keeping us stuck. Okay, and that's it. Because that's it, I'm now going to move into the specifics of this solar eclipse and Aries and the aspects that it's making at this time. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. To do that, I'm going to place again where the new moon solar eclipse is in Aries on this chart. So here it is, new moon solar eclipse in Aries. Okay, which again is about us trying to get a new beginning, to step into a new chapter in life that we've been struggling to do for a while, with more passion, courage, drive, determination, and a new identity and behaviors in order to support that. Okay, that we've just hit roadblock after roadblock in doing. All right, the first alignment that I want to talk about here, now that this eclipse is making, is of course going to be Chiron, as you see it here, sandwiched right in between the sun and the moon. That's what I want to talk about, that this new moon solar eclipse in Aries is exactly conjunct Chiron. Okay. What is that about? Well, let's start by saying that this is a very, very difficult thing to occur here, and really not the way you want your solar eclipse to be aspected. It's very difficult because Chiron is a planet that, sorry, it's not a planet, but Chiron does represent a lot of difficulty, triggers, insecurities here in our situation that can make things very, very hard. So this can be very unpleasant. What are we finding difficult to do or triggered by here? Well, Chiron's in Aries, the same sign that this new moon solar eclipse is in. So we're feeling very triggered and uncomfortable and difficult here to do the thing we're trying to get a new beginning in, the new chapter in life, to move forward with more passion, more drive, to have a new identity and a new way of doing things. We're feeling like it's hard. We're feeling like it's uncomfortable. Here, we're not feeling like it's coming together. We feel very insecure and raw about the whole thing. And I should even note as well, Chiron can indicate a stuckness here when it comes to the Aries energy, which likes to move forward. So this can make it very, very difficult. Not only that, but this can also bring up difficult events or experiences here that could have happened at this time as well, that might just feel challenging, like you're taking a big step back, unable to move forward. Okay. So that's what we've got there, trying to get into a new beginning in life again with a new identity, new way of doing things, more passion, more drive, more courage, more bravery, more motivation, but very hard still to do so. Stuck, here, insecure, wounded, difficult experiences happening that make you feel like you're being set back. Okay. That then leads me to the next alignment that I want to mention here. at this eclipse, which is also Mercury. The fact that Mercury is also conjunct this new moon solar eclipse, even though further away than Chiron, and that it's retrograde here in the sign of Aries. So I want to look at that. That's also a difficult alignment here. That's difficult because Mercury is retrograde, which is, again, not a direction it normally appears to be going here. So this can be a bit of a challenge. What is the challenge? Well, Mercury does have to do with our mind, the way we think, and also the way we communicate. And when it's retrograde, it can bring difficulty with that, difficulty communicating. We're saying things, people aren't understanding it. Here that's going on. It can also bring difficulty thinking. We're not thinking clearly. Our brain is in a fog here, or we think we're thinking clearly when we're really not here, or can bring some sort of confusion here about our situation here as well. That's happening. Not only that, but Mercury too can also be about our physical environment, because not only does Mercury correlate to Gemini, an air sign, it also correlates to Virgo, an earth sign, physical here. So this can also indicate too difficulties in our physical environment, organizing plans, getting people and things together, making adjustments that is that we need. Can also create malfunctions with technology and other things like that here that's going on. That can also be very hard here as well. And not only be very hard, but I need to note with all this, Aries energy can bring anger, because Aries, when negatively aspected here, can bring anger, I think more so than the other signs. Mad at ourselves, mad at other people here as well, that like we keep trying to do something and it's not working, and that you're not getting what I'm trying to say here, and that this thing came up that's now in the way, you know, and that nothing's working, can bring a lot of anger here around the situation. Okay. So do you see, trying to step into a new beginning one more time in a more significant way, more bravery, courage, passion, whatever, but having hard time to do that. Stuck, insecure, not moving forward, negative events maybe coming up that we feel are setting us back, confusion, lack of clarity, miscommunications, malfunctions with technology, and other things here that are going on, which is making us very angry. Not only that, but I want to look at another alignment going on here, which is going on at the same time of the solar eclipse, which is also very difficult. And that's going to be Venus here now, which recently entered the sign of Aries, where this eclipse is. This is also a difficult alignment. Why is this difficult? Because Venus does not like to be in the sign of Aries. You know, all the planets have signs they do and don't like to be in, just like we as humans have things we do and don't like better, foods we do and don't like better, colors we do and don't like better. And planets have things they just do and don't like better than others, or do and don't function, you know, function in certain ways. And Venus doesn't like to be in the sign of Aries. Why? Venus is a planet of ease. It's a planet of beauty. It's a planet of patience here in a lot of ways. Can also be a planet to, it's a planet of ease and beauty because it correlates to Taurus. It can also be a planet too of compromise and diplomacy here in harmony, since it relates to Libra as well. There's the signs it's correlated to. And when you get Venus in Aries, that goes out the window. Here, it's very hard to be at ease. It's very hard to be patient. It's very hard to be diplomatic. Why? Because Aries wants to go, go, go. Mars ruled. Wants to go, go, go. Wants to do stuff. Can be impatient. And Aries is not about other people. It's more about me, myself, and I. So not only are there a lot of difficult things going on here, trying to get to a new beginning here in life, that's happening, but with a new identity and new behaviors, and we're struggling to do so, feel stuck, insecure, negative experiences are coming up, miscommunications, malfunctions, things not going according to plan, brain fog, not thinking clearly, anger, but we may get impatient that things aren't coming together, impatient that this isn't working, and try to push and force our way through, strong arm our way through these roadblocks, through these setbacks, through our insecurities here that are going on, by forcing situations, forcing people, being passive aggressive or angry or mean to people here, not compromising. That can just make more and more difficulties here at this solar eclipse. That can unfortunately make it more and more uncomfortable here. Which I believe is more difficult than the lunar eclipse we had 2 weeks ago, even though that wasn't like the most pleasant one either, being on the south node. Okay, not only that, but I want to go now to another alignment that's happening, which also unfortunately is a challenging one, and that's going to be Mars here conjunct Saturn in Pisces at the same time of this eclipse as well. This is significant because Mars is the ruler of the new moon, right? The new moon solar eclipse is in Aries, a Mars ruled sign. And here we go. We have Mars, the ruler of it. And it's in conjunct Saturn, which is difficult, being Saturn, the planet of restriction, and towards the outer planets. Okay, what is the difficulty here? Well, Saturn, again, tends to slow things down, restrict things, and make them harder to do. With Mars there, which is action, which we already know based on Chiron, Mercury retrograde, there's a lot of stuckness, a lot of restriction, a lot of can't move forward. Okay? Not only that, but I also need to note as well, Pisces skews more sadness. Here, there is anger. There's definitely anger and arguments that can happen with the Aries, but this can also create sadness too, weepiness here as well, something of that sort, because Pisces is a water sign, which can be a little more sensitive in that way. So it can bring anger and then sadness and crying and sensitive here. It can bring both sides of the spectrum here, both emotions, I think probably happening together or one right after the other or things like that. Not only that, but Pisces as well, when negative, which is how I'm interpreting this, can also bring a victim mentality. This is all, there's nothing I can do. I'm trying to do things, nothing's working. Everything I try to do, why is the world out to get me? Can bring a spiraling down more into that victim mentality. Not only can it bring that, but again, Pisces can also skew a bit more overwhelmed and a bit more tired too. So after you finish, having a little fit or getting impatient and trying to push things and it's still not working, not only can you get sad, victim mentality, but you can start to feel overwhelmed and just exhausted, about this emotional roller coaster here that's gone on as well. That can be a bit difficult here too at this time. Okay. But even though this can be a difficult alignment here, I want to give some other thoughts here about it, right? Because I've already kind of hit that point home here with a bunch of this other stuff going on. And I want to give you some other thoughts here, starting with this alignment about why. Why are we having difficulty here moving forward yet again into this new beginning here that is happening? Why? That really we've been trying to get to since 2020. Why are we having difficulty now? Why are we having difficulty again? Well, a few thoughts here. Pisces is a symbol of the past here and of old things, being the last sign of the zodiac that still haven't fully been resolved, which can be external in our physical situation, relationships, money, jobs, things like that, but can also too be internal, especially with Pisces being a water sign that hasn't fully been resolved as well. Not only can Pisces, where Mars and Saturn are conjunct at the time of this solar eclipse, indicate old things still haven't fully been taken care of, released. Pisces is really about release, letting go of externally and internally, but so too can Mercury retrograde, right? Retrogrades is when a planet appears to be moving backwards in the sky, backwards, things from the past. Things from the past can come back that still have not been fully resolved and that still need to be resolved. So we have at least two indicators here that part of the reason why we're trying to move forward into a new beginning again, new identity, new behaviors, all of that is because there's still some more old things that we still need to resolve externally and internally first and let go of, release, not bring back. I think for a lot of you, it's permanently end and release in order to move forward, which can be a variety of different things in your situation here. And the details of Mercury skews details. The details surrounding those things need to be taken care of. And I want to linger on that for a minute about the details. I did that last video, but I'm going to do it again. The details are super important because a lot of you have already started to end things 2 weeks ago, maybe even before that are in the way, but you still need to finish the drill. You still need to follow through on that and finish those details, not necessarily end 500 more things that you haven't ended, but to finish ending what you started to end 2 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, finish with that here. I think that's really more of what it's about. Not ending a whole bunch of new things, ending things you already started to end that just need to be finished here. Okay, so I think that's important. Not only do I think that's part of the reason why, right, we're having difficulty moving forward is because a few small details, few small details from things you've already ended haven't fully been ended externally and internally that you need to follow through on and finish. But also too, again, Pisces has to do with our emotional state, and Mercury is retrograde in Aries, which has to do with our identity and our ideas, Mercury of ourselves. I think another thing that's keeping us stuck is not only physical, old situations that we've kind of ended, but haven't finished ending, that we still need to end the details on, but also emotionally. Here, we have an old identity, an old idea of our identity, of who we used to be, of how we used to behave, that we haven't fully let go of either, or released either, that we're still holding on to. There's a part of us that's still holding on to the person we used to be, how we used to do things, right? That we also need to let go of in our mind and our hearts, you know, in order to get rid of. Here, that is still in the way, that is still blocking this, that still needs to be done. Not only do I think that that is part of the problem here of why we're stuck, but I think another part of the issue here with Venus, let's talk about Venus and Aries for a minute. Again, Venus doesn't like to be Aries, as we already discussed here. Venus doesn't like to be in Aries because Aries pushes too much, too hard sometimes, and can be a bit impatient. So I think that's another reason, because Venus is here at this time, why we are having difficulty moving forward in this new beginning, is because we're trying too hard still and pushing too much here, more than we need. Why? Because this new chapter of life that we're moving into is not supposed to be a hard one. It's not supposed to be difficult like the stuff we've been ending. It's supposed to be easier and more fun. Remember, Venus went retrograde in Leo, and Mars is going to go retrograde in Leo a few months from now, a year from now about. This new chapter in life is supposed to be fun. Well, why do you force fun things? You don't. Why do you push fun things to make them happen? You don't. You just enjoy them in the moment. So I think another reason why we're still here struggling to really move forward in this new beginning is because we're pushing it too hard and too much, instead of just allowing it to happen here in the ways that it needs, and allowing it to happen when the time is right. And a lot of times I need to note that also comes from emotional trauma from the past. When you have emotional trauma from the past that hasn't fully been resolved, maybe that's another thought that I'll add here. You tend to push and force things because you're worried the past is going to come back. I'm worried that I'm never going to get into a new experience. I'm worried that something's going to go wrong more. So you push and you force here, which is related to that, which is another reason why we need to adjust our emotional perspective here, so that we aren't pushing and forcing things here at this time. Another reason why we might be having difficulty moving forward into a new beginning as well is, sure, those things, still some details around old physical matters that need to be taken care of, and some emotional things we need to release, an old identity, an old fear that things are going to go wrong here, and we need to stop pushing, right? We're pushing too hard to make things happen. But another reason why we might struggle to move forward is maybe because part of us is jaded, in a sense. Maybe I'll say it that way, which weirdly is also an emotional issue that needs to be resolved here with the Pisces and the Chiron and stuff. Maybe we're jaded because we've been trying to get to a new beginning since 2020, new, better experience of life. So maybe there's a part of us that's jaded. Well, I've been trying to do it. I've been trying to get here since 2020, and nothing I try works. Nothing I do works. Nothing I try works. You know, there's this jaded feeling of like, what's going to make this time any different? You know, so what? If I try to move into a new beginning, the same thing's going to happen that's always happened in the past. You know, there can be a jaded feeling, which is, again, an emotional issue that's weirdly tied up in our identity. Well, in the past, it never worked out. That we need to, that's also stopping us from moving forward, that we need to overcome. Okay, so do you see? So let me back up, and then I'm going to switch to some advice here. Okay. This new moon solar eclipse in Aries, we're trying to move forward yet again into a new beginning, new chapter of life that really we've been trying to get to since 2020. That's been hard to do. Okay. With it, that includes a new identity with it and a new way of behaving with more passion, drive, excitement, motivation, and all of that. But we're really struggling to do so at this new moon solar eclipse, and are still feeling stuck and uncomfortable and hurt and insecure about this new beginning, and are maybe having negative experiences happen as well that are making us feel like we're being set back, and that are creating miscommunications, a lack of clarity in our situation, confusion, and just malfunctions and things not going according to plan that can make us very angry, very upset here, and make us want to force or push the situation, strong arm, to fight people and fight our way through this situation here that's going on that isn't going to work, and is going to make things more difficult and make us more sad and upset and maybe even emotional, overwhelmed and exhausted here, and put some of us into perhaps a victim mentality here that can be a big challenge. the reason why we're trying to move forward again, but we're still struggling to do so here is because we've been trying to get to a new beginning for a very long time and haven't been able to do it quite yet, and are pessimistic and are jaded because of that, and don't know why now would be any different. Another reason why we're stuck and unable to move forward as well is because our identity, we still think of ourselves as an old person who in an old way, who never had things work for us, instead of a new person with a new identity here that's trying to emerge. And because we still have a few more details of things from the past that have not fully been resolved in the way that we need them, because our emotions are still stuck in the past and in negative experiences instead of what needs to happen after this. And because we're pushing and forcing too much here instead of just allowing things, which is also a result of the other stuff, the negative jadedness that I just mentioned. Okay. So what then now is the advice that I want to give you here about how to handle this? Well, I think the advice is going to go back to a lot of these other alignments: Mars conjunct Saturn, Venus and Aries, Mercury retrograde in Aries. What is that? Well, let me start with the Pisces stuff for a minute, with Mars there, the ruler of this eclipse in Pisces. Pisces is, when positive, about trusting the process. It's about trusting the process. Not only is it about that, it's about surrendering to the divine. Pisces as well is also a more patient sign, which I think is needed now more than ever, with Venus and Aries, a sign it doesn't like to be in. Okay, so I think a big part of the advice here is you have to trust the process. Stop forcing things. Trust the process here and be patient as things come together, and as the divine works things out. Okay, I think that's a big thing, especially too, another thought that I want to say, because Aries, sure, Aries when negative can be aggressive and pushy, but Aries when positive, I think, acts from an easier place, more instinctual, more natural here. So you're trying to get to that place, not pushing and forcing. Patient, surrendered, calm, so it can come naturally, so the action can come naturally and easily. Okay, not only is that the advice, right? Stop pushing, stop forcing these things to happen. Calm down, wait till the timing is right here, until action feels easy, action feels calm, action feels natural. Wait for that moment here. But I think part of the advice as well is to finish resolving anything from the past physically that hasn't fully been resolved first. Whatever that means to you, with jobs, relationships, money, home matters, health matters, etc. Finish that stuff first. Okay, and the details surrounding that. Not only is that the advice, finish with the details. The advice also too is to adjust your inner and emotional perspective on yourself, your world, and your identity to be different, so that you're not stuck in the old negative ideas of things, and to be more positive and to see yourself in a new light, and to really work on that, separating from the old identity and embracing more of a new one here that's going on. I think that's also here needed as well. In order to bring your situation together. Okay. Because if you can do that, I'm now going to go a step further. If you can do that, something very good is going to happen. And I think sooner than you think, because Jupiter is coming into a conjunction with Uranus and Taurus in just a few weeks' time. I think it's going to actually happen at the end of this month, about 3 to 4 weeks away. I think it's more 3 weeks than 4 here. And this to me can be a very good thing. Jupiter about gifts, good luck, blessings. Uranus can bring this sudden and unexpected here, sudden and unexpected good things, or things turn out way better than you thought they would unexpectedly, that feel more stable and secure. Taurus, more fertile Taurus, here with more of a solid ground, with it being an earth sign for you to grow from after this point, and more of a solid ground in this new beginning. Okay. But it's not something that can be forced, right? It's not something that can be forced. It's not something that can be pushed. It's not something that's meant to be forced and pushed. It's meant to happen naturally and easily, without being complicated by things from the past and old ideas of yourself going on. Okay, and that's it, because that's all I'm going to say now in terms of the aspects of this video. I'm just going to repeat all of that one last time before we move on to just some other thoughts. So let me do that now. What I think is going on here at this new moon solar eclipse in Aries is that we're trying to step into a new chapter of life with a new identity, new behaviors, and new experiences that really we've been trying to do since 2020, but that's been very hard for us to do. We're trying to get more courage, more bravery, more passion and excitement for life, and for us to do that. And I think that's a good thing for us to do. But even though I think that's a good thing for us to do, I think we're finding that very difficult again. And I think we're still feeling stuck and unable to move forward in this different way, and very insecure about it, and wounded and hurt, with maybe some negative experiences also occurring that can make us feel very set back, have malfunctions in our experience, miscommunications, not think clearly, not understand what's going on in our situation, and feel very angry. And I think that can make us very upset. And because we're upset, I think it may cause us to push and strong arm our situation to kind of force our way through the hardship here, or struggle with it, which can create a lot of arguments with ourselves and others, and not only create a lot of arguments, but also not work. Strong arming is not the answer, and make us even more angry and upset, but also sad and emotional and weepy about our situation, and feel overwhelmed, exhausted, and like the victim. That can just be a big challenge. And the reason why I think a lot of this is going on here at this eclipse is because we've been trying to get to a new beginning since 2020, and it hasn't worked. So we're jaded, and we think, well, why would it work now if it hasn't worked then? And we're kind of lacking hope. That's going on. Not only do I think that's why we're stuck, but I think we're also stuck too because we have an old idea of what life is for us and has been, and of our identity that's based in an old experience and not on the new one that we're having trouble to accept, and the new identity that's coming in that's also holding us back and making it hard and complicated for us to act. Not only do I think it's because of those things here, but I think we're also struggling to move forward as well, because we're pushing and forcing our situation and trying a little too hard here to make things manifest instead of letting it come naturally here. And I also think we're having difficulty as well because there's still a few small details from old things from the past that we started to end a few weeks ago that we still haven't fully ended, that we still need to finish here. That's going on. And because that's what's happening and that's why it's happening, I'm going to give you some advice. And the advice on how to deal with that is to stop pushing and forcing things first and foremost, and strong arming your way through, because that's not going to help. And instead be patient while it works itself out here, and surrender to the process. Not only is that the advice, but it's also as well to work on your inner world and adjusting your internal perspective and emotions away from an old experience and old identities, and more towards new experiences, new situations that are more positive instead of negative here. That's going on. And not only that, but we also need to finish up any old things that are standing in our way here. That's going on. Because if you can do that, then that is going to allow you to move forward into this new experience better than you thought you could, easier than you thought you could, with more luck than you thought you could here in just a few weeks' time. That's going to be very positive and actually help you feel like you're finally getting somewhere that you haven't been able to get to since 2020, with more of a strong foundation to move forward into a new way that I think will be very good. Okay, and that's it. Okay. Anything else now that I want to add? Any thoughts about this eclipse? I think the main point, I think I've said a lot of things in this video about why we're stuck and still having difficulty to move forward into different experience. But I think out of all of the things I've said, there's one thing that stands out to me as being the most important here. And I think the thing that stands out to me as being the most important or relevant here is this thought. The new experience of life that we're going into and the new beginning, it's not meant to be forced. It's not meant to be pushed. It's meant to happen naturally and easily. It's meant to happen naturally and easily. So if you find yourself trying to get to a new beginning and trying to push and force, it's not going to work. You're going to get further away from it. It's meant to happen easily and naturally. I think that to me is the thing that stands out the most. Okay. Okay. Because, yes. Okay. Sorry, I do have another thought. It's meant to happen easily and naturally. I think the next thought that I want to say is, how do you let something happen easily and naturally, right? And let action occur in that way. Again, it's not by forcing it. There's just so much there. It's not by forcing it. Sometimes in order to let something happen easily and naturally, you have to wait until you feel it and wait until the time is right or ripe or whatever you want to say here. So I think that's the thing, the main point about this eclipse. We're going into a new beginning, but it can't be pushed. It can't be forced. It can't be a difficult one. It has to come easily and naturally. And the only way to let it come easily and naturally, this new beginning, is to be patient and to wait until it feels right and feels easy. Okay. Okay. And if it hasn't felt right, there's another thought that I have. And if it hasn't felt right or felt easy to do prior to this point to get to a new beginning in the way that you might like, it's because it wasn't the right time to do it. Do you see? It's not because anything was wrong. It's because it wasn't a right time and you needed more time for it to come naturally and easily, because some things just can't be forced. Okay? Not only do I want to say that, but I also want to say that now is the time. If you give it a few more weeks and stop beating yourself up about it or beating up other people about it, it will come naturally and easily more this time to get into a new beginning than it has, I think, since 2020. If you just, again, give yourself a few more weeks and try not to stress yourself out throughout this situation here as well. Okay. You just have to allow it to come. Okay. And trust that it will be soon, because it will be. Okay. What else do I want to say? Cannot be forced, must come easy, will come easy when the time is right. The time hasn't been right yet, quite. Now it is. Okay. I think the thought that's also tied up with that of like, you have to wait till the time is right. But I think there's also a thought about receiving here as well, being open. I don't know if I quite said that word earlier in this video, but that's connected. There's a need to be open to receive. It's not just waiting for the time to be right. It's also about being open to receive passion and excitement and things when they do come that are meant to be for you. Okay. What else do I want to say? Another thought that I want to say, I did mention so far in this video that it's very possible that negative events could occur at this eclipse. Arguments, disagreements, could even be, again, endings and losses and things like that here, because again, the eclipse is conjunct Chiron, and eclipses can just be a time of big events like that could happen. That could be very uncomfortable. So I think the next thought that I want to say is that if something happens that's hard here in your life, again, don't fight it. That's part of the advice, right? Don't fight it. Don't push it. Don't try to strong arm it. Just let it be, I think, is more of the advice here as well. If it is meant to be in your life, it will stay without you having to fight or push hard for it. And if it's not meant to be in your life, it will go, and to allow that to happen. Okay. Because if you're trying to fight something to be, push something to be in your life that's not meant to be in your life, it's not going to be in your life because it's not meant to be it. Do you see? Or it is going to be in your life, but then it's going to set a precedent for fighting and pushing hard. That's not going to work. So I think there's a thought here too. If something negative happens at this time, let it go and don't fight it because it wasn't meant to be in your life. Not only is that the thought because it wasn't meant to be in your life, but the thought too is because there's something better coming very soon in 3 weeks when Jupiter conjuncts Uranus as well, that maybe you can't see now or couldn't anticipate. That, again, looks unexpected here and good. Okay. So I think those are the points. That's the main thing. A new experience is coming very soon, 3 weeks. You just can't push it and you can't fight it. You just need to give it a little more time, 3 more weeks to emerge naturally. It needs to emerge naturally, like hugely important. And the best way to let it emerge naturally is to wait and to give it space to come in by being open to receive. And also too, by not letting this old stuff cloud it. Getting rid of the old stuff so it's not in the way. Right? Another thought that I want to say, and then I think I'll move on here. Another thought that I want to say as well is, I just had it and then I forgot it. Oh, that's what I want to say. Another thing I want to say as well is that something significant is going to happen very soon to get us to a new beginning in life. I don't know if I've mentioned this, but this is an eclipse. Eclipses bring something significant, and Jupiter conjunct Uranus is happening 3 weeks time. This is something very significant. So I also want to note too, and we'll probably be talking about this at the next new moon, or sorry, yeah, we might be talking about this at the next full moon 2 weeks from now, but especially the next new moon 4 weeks from now. Here, something significant is going to occur to get you in a new chapter of life, right? I've been saying in all my videos, you've been trying to get there since 2020 and it just doesn't quite happen, and we just can't quite make it work in the way that we want. Well, something's going to happen when Jupiter conjuncts Uranus in 3 weeks that is going to make it happen in a more solid and significant way. Now, it's still going to be a beginning of something, and there's still going to be more to go with it, and there's still going to be issues that are going to come up with it later this year, but it is going to be something solid and substantial that you're going to have in your hands to work with here in 3 weeks time, that you haven't had since 2020, in this new beginning that's going to put you on a higher level or more of a solid level as well, and to know that that's coming too. Here that's going on. So I hope you're getting it. Struggling, trying to get to new chapter, new beginning, struggling, pushing and forcing, not going to work. It has to arise naturally. Now is the time. It's going to arise naturally very soon. You just can't force it. You have to wait, and you have to be open to receive and provide an empty space for it to come to. And then a new beginning will come in a very significant way. Still the beginning, still beginning. It's a new beginning, still beginning, but very solid, very significant that you haven't experienced yet since 2020. That will be very positive, even if you can't see it now, to get it to where you need to go. It looks unexpected. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up your inside degrees. The inside degrees were not written by me. They were written by someone else named Elias Lonsdale, who channeled the meanings of each of the degrees from spirit, but I like to look at them for inspiration since I find them very relevant. So we're going to do that. The new moon solar eclipse in Aries is at 19 degrees, but I believe I actually like all of them. 18, 19, and 20. And the ones before and after the eclipse can also be relevant because the planets are in motion. So we're going to go through those here, hopefully pretty quickly. Let's start at 18 degrees Aries. It says neither being one thing nor another, no longer belonging and not yet attaining. I think that actually really sums up really well exactly what's going on at this eclipse. We're trying to step more into a new beginning, right? To be one thing, new, beginning, different, but we're not yet there, right? We're not yet there at this new beginning to where we want to be. But we're not yet where we were. So I think that's how I feel. I really like this. At this eclipse, we want a new beginning, but we're not there yet. But even though we're not there yet, we're not in the old either. It says you live in limbo and fiercely get ready. This is a very strange predicament. You have no world to be in. The past is over. The future is not yet. The present moment becomes both magical and dreadful. And I'm feeling more dreadful than magic at this eclipse. It says that it is dreadful and that nothing ever really happens and you cannot stand it. So huge thought there. This eclipse, we want to be in a new and different experience, but we're not there yet. But even though we're not in the new yet, we're not in the old either. We feel in limbo. It's a weird place to be, and there's a lot of negative feelings because of that, because we feel like nothing's happening, especially not anything good, and we're not where we want to be. Okay. Let's read on. It said, it is magical, and that when you have lost everything and truly have nothing left to lose, you are free. You are free to dream and be. You still have no context, no place to plug in, but you are a free agent, oddly released from pressures, demands, the crossfire of urgent criticality. And in this state, you have one amazing option. If you give this way, if you surrender your sparkling autonomy to the universal life force, you can turn the world on and make everybody aware that they are free as well. And I see these last few lines as the advice, right? sure, this is a hard place to be. And I think that's more our natural tendency of like, this sucks. You know, this is really hard. We're not where we want to be. I'm not where I was. I feel in limbo. I don't belong anywhere here. But I feel that you have to tap in and you have to surrender. You have to tap into surrendering to the universe, to the divine, to a higher power here in order to navigate this and realize, right, that you were free. You're free to be something else without the pressures and demands of what you once had. So I think there's some advice there in that one, which we've talked about. Then let's go on to 19 degrees Aries, which is the exact degree of the eclipse. It says, the head densely holds the patterns of the past as fixed routes. There are points along the journey where everything must be dropped and where all previous experience becomes no longer applicable. You are treated to a destiny surge of power which obliterates the traces of petty limitation and habitual tracks. A radical departure into the infinite unknown becomes the only way to go. As the ego mind no longer bears the authority to command and dictate and coerce, vision is released. Okay, let's stop there for a minute. I think this thing that stands out to me about this first few lines, I just get a sense of like the identity being stuck in the limitations and the habits of the past and in the pain of the past. And even I liked the word ego, the ego being stuck. So I think that's another challenge that might come up at this eclipse. Not only is that we're not quite where we want to be yet in the new beginning and we're not in the old and we feel in a weird limbo. That's very frustrating here, but that our identity and our ego is in the way, stuck in previous experience that is no longer applicable, right? That's what it says. And in old limitations that are no longer applicable, right? If you're going into a new experience of life, the old issues that plagued you a few years ago should not plague you in the new one, because it's the nature of it being new and different. So I think that there's a thing there as well. A lot of us have old ideas about life and about who we should be. A lot of us have made our old pain a part of our identity. You know, we are the pains of the past. That is not true and not right, that we need to get rid of in order to move forward. So I think there's also some thoughts there. A lot of us think the pain of the past is always going to occur when it's not, because we're going into a new experience, which by nature means that it's different than the old. And we have to adjust our identity or else we're going to stay a little stuck. Okay. Okay. It says, as the ego mind no longer bears the authority to command and dictate and coerce, vision is released, awareness becomes visceral, everything lights up directly, and as the old carcass is removed, the universal life force streams in, giving a much brighter angle and learning to move with. Identity smashed to make room for totality and a fresh and uninhibited expression, embodiment of its call, and in its need for those who can drop everything and tune right into what wants to emerge here. So that also gives a problem in advice 19. Problem is our identity stuck in past limitations, old habits that are no longer applicable. That's a problem that we need to get rid of here. Again, to a higher universal life force. Both of these say that. Okay. And to whatever wants to come and to things that are different. Okay. Then let's go to Aries 20. It says, nothing is left. Reality is scattered, self-obliterated, the familiar rendered irrelevant. Apocalyptic changes, personal and collective take over. No being, only action. You become a projectile of intent, literally identify with what you can do now, a barren wasteland of an inner world, a thrust outside, stark and surreal. You feel compelled to dare, pushed over the edge, no going back. Destiny is frenzy. And in this wild, volatile mix, creative forces are released that would never come out any other way, yielding to the role of purging and cleansing agent of changes. You are unable to wriggle out of anything ever again. So I think that what that Aries 20 means to me here is that if we can let go of an old identity that is based on old limitation and not feel so weird in our limbo, right? And surrender to the divine and to a higher expression here that's going on, then we're going to feel something, a different force take over that's going to compel us to act here and get more into a new experience that couldn't come any other way. And I think the words that I like in Aries 20 here are apocalyptic changes take over, no being, only action, and you feel compelled to dare push over the edge. And I like those words, compelled, apocalyptic changes, no being, only action, because they indicate not, again, they indicate a higher power taking over. Like there's something about that and us not forcing, you know, when it says, right, when I hear compelled here, I feel like it's an inner prompting, you know, I'm compelled to do so, you know, feel compelled or apocalyptic. I don't get the sense of forcing is what I'm trying to say. I like those words because I feel like whatever the end result is of this eclipse in Aries is not, oh, I have to do this, you know, or else I'm not going to do it anyways. I feel like it's an inner prompting of like, I want to do this. I want to do these things. Not I need to do it. Not I'm scared if I don't move into a new way that XYZ is going to happen, but that I'm excited about it. I want to do it. It's happening naturally there. That's going on. So I think there's also a thought there about where this is all leading to. The new experience and the new chapter of life is not one we have to do out of obligation, should do out of guilt or shame, need to do to avoid some emergency. The new chapter is one that we want to do. And feel inspired to do and comes from a natural, easy, calm place, which is really what we need to get to and what this eclipse is all about. And the way to get to it is to release old ideas of yourself, limitations, habits, things that are no longer working, and to surrender to a higher power and see this as an opportunity instead of a challenge, okay? I think that's it. Because that's it, I'm now going to go ahead and take a look at your card. So let's do that. This is the Four of Cups here reversed. And at the bottom of the deck, we've got the 10 of Cups upright. The Four of Cups to me, upright, even though I know we pulled it reversed, is a lot about us not being open to opportunities, not seeing opportunities for what they are, rejecting things that are truly meant for us here. And I think what I'm getting from that is that a lot of us, a new beginning has been trying to come here since 2020, but a lot of us just haven't been open to it. The new beginning haven't been open to it because there's still been things from the past in the way and still blockages within ourselves here that are stopping that from coming in. That we just have needed time to deal with. Not only do I feel that, but I think the card, because I pulled it reversed, is saying we're going to overcome that. We're going to overcome that way more than we were before. So as to where the past few years, new opportunities may have been trying to come to us and we've been rejecting them and pushing them away because we're not ready, or because we don't feel like we're going to do a good thing, or like because of past experience and past limitations. This new moon, even though it's a stressful one, is going to help us overcome that and start to be more open to receiving these new experiences in an easier way, and to allow the things that are meant to come to us here in the way that we need, and to let go of the things that aren't meant to be with us. And it's going to help us to open our eyes to, I think, the good things that are going on in our lives and the positive opportunities here that it is that we have around. And the 10 of Cups is a lot about fulfillment and happiness. So the cards are saying that this eclipse is going to help us be more open to receiving a new experience and feel more excited and welcome contentment into it. And yeah, and maybe that's another piece of advice. I like to give advice with the cards. Maybe that's part of the advice with the cards is you have to open your eyes and see that there's a lot of new things that want to come into your life, and to be open to it and to look on the bright side and think more positive here that's going on, and allow them to occur instead of fighting for them or pushing them away here that's going on, and to approach things with more ease. So I think that's what I'm going to say there. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that was helpful for you. I hope that made sense. I wish you all the best this solar eclipse in Aries, and I'll talk to you soon. I think we'll have much happier things to talk about in just a few weeks. So have a good one. I'll talk to you later. If you like this video, please like it on YouTube, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll talk to you next week, 2 weeks from now.